We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
All right. Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast. This is Abe, your host. Just got off work. It's 8:12 a.m. Today is September the 15th. So halfway through September. Sorry I ain't put out nothing for about a week. Just been feeling under the weather. A little aggravated and depressed with the world after Biden signing that executive order to basically mandate the V word. So I probably will be losing my job soon. Because I'm not going to bow down and do it. For one, I just feel that it's wrong to sit there and forcibly inject somebody with genetic therapy. That, and I am a broken record at this point. I had somebody comment on a video, an update I did, and I deleted the video because I just got so frustrated. I'm like, I'm going to go off on this motherfucker. Not trying to be mean, but literally the question was, why can't you take it? What do you mean, why can't I take it? Are you new to the channel, or... Oh, by the way, thanks for the 2 new subscribers. I appreciate that. But I mean, I don't know. It's just, I'm on YouTube because I'm here to like wake people up. Because a lot of people are like, well, why are you even on YouTube? You know, you should just switch to BitChute and YouTube and other alternatives. And it's like, I'm on those other alternatives, but those other alternatives are a echo chamber. And what is the point of me putting out information? I mean, yes, it's nice to be red-pilled and to get new information, but I'm here to wake up the blue-pilled people also, and inform them on what I know and what I've learned and what I've researched. But I've researched this V word for the past, year. And I've researched Agenda 21. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and literally do a 10-page fucking comment. It's like, dude, my channel is here. Go through the episodes. It's all there. That's why I can't take it. If you want to take it, good for you. Do what thou wilt. And second off, it kind of pissed me off too, because it's like I have autoimmune deficiency. I've been pretty open about that with you all, but it's the point that nobody should be asking anyone's health information. For some reason, that used to be something that was like a common sense rule, and now since 2019, it's like normal to ask somebody that, which is bullshit. So yeah, I'm off today. I had some energy in me, so I'm like, I need to put out a podcast. I haven't did one in a while. And yeah, basically it's storming here, and I hit this gigantic puddle, and now my car's been spitting and sputtering the whole way home. So I'm like, oh fuck, because I got the muffler fell off, and I've had it happen before where I've hit too big of a puddle and then it'd spit and sputter for a while. But I mean, knock on wood, hopefully it'll be fine. It's done it before, so it gets water up in the exhaust and it has to like basically spit it all out, you know. It's an older car, 97 Pontiac, so but just been working, chilling, trying to save some money for when I lose my job, you know. Almost to 7,000, which is cool. So I don't really know what to do though, because the way the thing that he signed it, if there's 100 or more people in the whole corporation in general, everyone's supposed to get the V word. But yeah, they're gonna lose all their night crew in like one fell swoop. So have fun with that, you know. But yeah, today we're covering a 9/11 article. I found it. It's on the front page of a local Herald Leader paper. And the headline honestly drew my attention. It's FBI releases new declassified record on September 11th. So I guess Joe Biden declassified some classified records. And I ain't gonna lie, being a conspiracy theorist, whenever I see something like that, it kind of makes me feel a little special. So I picked it up. I haven't really covered too much of 9/11 because every time like 9/11 comes around, I'm either too busy at work to make a podcast or I forget. I'm kind of torn on it as far as like my opinion of what happened on that day. I mean, I try to keep an open mind. I've heard people with the theory that a drone was swapped with the actual plane. There's documentaries of the Japanese. They did basically that back in 2001 with the cell phone technology and the height they were at, it would be impossible for them, the victims, to call their loved ones. The whole thing is weird. Like with the hijackers, it was like, what was it, like 12 or 19 guys, something crazy like that, that snuck box cutters on the plane, and then they found their passports a block away, even though the entire plane disintegrated into flame. And then you got people who think it's a hologram, or people that think that it's just CG. It's hard to honestly come up with a conclusion. It's hard without offending someone. I keep my mind open to all of it. I'm just going to focus this episode on just this particular article because I like reading declassified documents. This isn't the actual document, but it's an article kind of summing up what's in the document. If you're welcome to look it up, you know, on your own free time if you want. I'm sure you could find it. But yeah, we'll get into the article. Washington. The declassified FBI document to logistical support given to two of the Saudi hijackers in the run-up to September 11th attacks details contacts the men had with Saudi associates in the United States, but does not provide proof that the senior kingdom officials were complicit in the plot. The document released Saturday on the 20th anniversary of the attacks is the first investigative record to be disclosed since President Joe Biden ordered a declassification review of materials that for years have remained out of public view. The 16-page document is a summary of an FBI interview done in 2015 with a man who had frequent contact with Saudi nationals in the U.S. who supported the first hijackers to arrive in the country before the attacks. Biden ordered the Justice Department and other agencies to conduct a declassification review and release what documents they can over the next 6 months. He was under pressure from the victims' families who have long sought the records as they pursue a lawsuit in New York alleging that the Saudi government officials supported the hijackers. Now, I do wonder if they put that in there just because of I watched the footage of Biden over at the 9/11 memorial. First of all, he didn't even do a speech or anything, so pretty shitty on you, Mr. quote-unquote president. Second off, dude, there was just tons of people there just screaming and booing him the whole time, not to mention a photo of a bunch of kids wearing MAGA shirts literally trolling him, and he's so dumb and senile he didn't even realize that all the kids were wearing Trump clothing. It's pretty fucking hilarious. Look that shit up. But the heavily blacked out document, of course it was heavily blacked out. I love how they release stuff and then black out like half the document, so it's literally unintelligible. It's like, yeah, we'll declassify it, half of it. I don't even think that should be legal, man. It doesn't matter anyways, it's the FBI, so they just do illegal shit anyways. FBI and CIA, you know. I hate to sound like a broken record, but, you know, 'tis what 'tis. Alright, the heavily blacked out document was released hours after Biden attended September 11th memorial events in New York, Pennsylvania, and at the Pentagon. By the way, he didn't speak for all three of those. So, like I said, what a POS. Victims' relatives had said they would object to Biden's presence at those remembrances as long as the documents remain classified. Saudi government has long denied any involvement in the attacks, which, by the way, I haven't really studied the whole 9/11 inside job stuff since, like, it happened. Like, well, not even since it happened, but years ago when I first woke up. And honestly, once I figured out that it was an inside job, you know, that there was explosives in the building, in my opinion. Jet fuel can't melt steel beams. World Trade Center 7. World Trade Center 6, which a lot of people don't know about. Check that out. Silverstein pulling out some insurance on it, like I think like the day or two before, which Silverstein was the owner of the building. And he was there like every day, and that was one of the few times he wasn't there. Bunch of shady, weird shit, you know. So I can't really remember if I really believed if the Saudis were involved or not. I can't. It's been so long since I researched it. The Saudi government has long declined any involvement in the attacks. The Saudi embassy in Washington has supported the full declassification of all the records as a way to, quote, end the baseless allegations against the kingdom once and for all, end quote. The embassy said that any allegation that Saudi Arabia was complicit was categorically false. The documents have come out at a politically delicate time for the United States and Saudi Arabia, which have forged a strategic, if difficult, alliance, particularly on counterterrorism matters. Well, I mean, if we'd stop creating stuff like ISIS and stuff like that, or, you know, from what I've done with my research, Osama bin Laden was, like, literally trained by the CIA and CIA asset. But, you know, the Biden administration in February released an intelligence assessment implicating Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in the 2018 killing of U.S.-based journalist Jamal Khashoggi, but drew criticism from Democrats for avoiding a direct punishment of the royal himself. Now, I kind of remember something about that, but I ain't gonna lie, I didn't delve too much into it. If you guys have any information, you can fill me in the comment section below if you're on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube and you would prefer audio only to save the battery time on your phone, we're on Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Anchor, and of course, uncensored videos on BitChute. Victims' relatives said that the documents released was a significant step in their further effort to connect the attacks to Saudi Arabia. Brett Eagleson, whose father, Bruce, was killed in the World Trade Center at the attack, said the release of the FBI material accelerates our pursuit of truth and justice. Jim Crendler, a lawyer for the victims' relatives, said in a statement that, quote, "The findings and conclusions in this FBI investigation validate the arguments we have made in litigation regarding the Saudi government's responsibility for the 9/11 attacks." Now, I'm sure they had something maybe to do with it. I mean, you got the dancing Israelis too. I believe Mossad and Israel had something to do with it, along with obviously the Bush family, and there's so many people involved in it. I wouldn't just say that one group or one country or one, intelligence agency should take all the full credit. I think multiple people and groups were in on it. My personal opinion. This document, together with the public evidence gathered to date, provides a blueprint for how Al-Qaeda operated inside the U.S. with the active, knowing support of the Saudi government, he said. That includes, he said, Saudi officials exchanging phone calls among themselves and Al-Qaeda operatives and then having quote-unquote accidental meetings. Yeah, that sounds fishy as fuck. With the hijackers while providing them with assistance to get settled and find flight schools. Regarding September 11th, there has been speculation of official involvement since shortly after the attacks, when it was revealed that 15 of the 19 hijackers were Saudis. Now that's what makes me definitely go, sounds like Saudi Arabia had something to do with it. 15 out of 19, so you tell me 4 of them weren't? And I'm guessing, not to sound anti-Semitic, because apparently anytime you blame Israel for anything, because God knows, that their people are being treated awesome by the Israeli government over there right now. But yeah, you get called anti-Semitic, but I don't give a fuck. So I'm kind of guessing in my head that the 4 others out of the 19 were probably Israeli, if not Mossad. Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda at the time, was from a prominent family in the kingdom. The U.S. investigated some Saudi diplomats and others with Saudi government ties who knew hijackers after they arrived in the United States, according to the previously declassified documents. Now, Osama bin Laden, he's a whole nother story. I believe he was trained by the U.S. CIA. Some people think that his code name was like Tim Osman. I just came across that little rabbit hole. But I've also heard crazy shit like he's literally Obama, which I'm not going down that rabbit hole. That's almost as crazy as like lizard people stuff, That's up to you if you want to go down that rabbit hole. I mean, have fun with that. Let's see. The U.S. investigated some Saudi diplomats and others with Saudi government ties who knew hijackers after they arrived in the United States, according to previously declassified documents. Still, the 9/11 Commission report in 2004, which by the way, the 9/11 Commission report is fucking bullshit. Such a shit show. It's like, they didn't even talk about World Trade Center 7 in that, man. But it reminds me of the Warren Commission, I think it was, during the whole JFK, report on his assassination. It's essentially just like a shit show whitewash. Yeah, just rubbish. Still, the 9/11 Commission report in 2004 found, quote, no evidence that the Saudi government, as an institution or senior Saudi officials individually funded, quote, unquote, the attacks that Al-Qaeda masterminded. Though it noted Saudi-linked charities would have diverted money to the group. Well, that right there literally just says that there's a Saudi connection. Saudi-linked charities. Hello? Sorry. Particular scrutiny has centered on the first 2 hijackers to arrive in the United States. Now, I'll probably butcher these names, but Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Midhar, and support they received. In February 2000, shortly after their arrival in Southern California, they encountered at a halal restaurant a Saudi national named Omar al-Bayoumi, who helped them find and lease an apartment in San Diego. He had ties to the Saudi government and had earlier attracted FBI scrutiny. Bayoumi has described his restaurant meeting with Hazmi and Midhar as a quote-unquote chance encounter. Yeah, okay. Oh, we just happened to, in the entire city of, New York, I'm guessing. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. It says San Diego, so they might have met in San Diego, which is still a gigantic fucking city. So you're telling me in the whole city you just happened to meet up with them? Okay. And the FBI, during its interview, made multiple attempts to ascertain the characterization was accurate or if the meeting had actually been arranged in advance, according to the document. Sounds to me like it was made in advance, and it doesn't sound like a chance meeting to me, but I don't know. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But yeah, that's all I really have for the whole 9/11. You're welcome to stick around if you want. We have a little bit of time. I usually try to make each podcast about 30 minutes long at least. If you want, you're welcome to stick around. We can do a paranormal story. I do have to say, since October's coming up, I'm going to try to focus as much episodes when October hits on strictly paranormal. Let me know in the comments if that would be something you guys would be interested in. Just because I know here lately we've been covering a lot of heavy subjects and stuff, not so much of the fun episodes like we used to do last year and stuff like that, but seems like every other day something crazy is coming up. But since October, is 1 month and Halloween's at the end of the month, I thought it'd be fun to just do as many like paranormal ghost episodes or murder, true crime episodes, just some of the darker, macabre, Halloween type stuff for the month of October. If you guys want, if you guys are interested. But thanks you guys for listening, and then you're welcome to stick around for the second part, which will be a paranormal ghost story. Now this story is called Bloodstains on Top of the Well. Hollis Thompson told me an interesting story. It was about a bloodstain on the water well at this old house his family moved into back in 1943. That was right in the middle of World War II. Hollis said that he was just a 5-year-old boy at the time. This house into which the Thompsons moved was very old. As a matter of fact, the house was so run down that it had to have a lot of repair work done before they moved in. I've heard Hollis say that there was no overhead ceiling upstairs. The ceiling rafters had been handmade. The axe marks made in them many years ago were still visible. He told me many other things about the house and all the old outbuildings around it. Let me tell you right now, a lot of his stories were scary, but there was one story about the old plank-covered well that really scared me. It made my blood turn cold every time I thought of it, especially after dark. The story had its beginnings around 1900. Back then, a Russell family owned the farm there and lived in the house. They liked to have parties and always invited their friends and neighbors in to have a good time with them. One night, the Russell family had a corn shucking party in the house. That's a party where people back in the day, as a way of getting their corn shucked, basically would throw a party. They could have a barrel of fun doing it. Fellows always liked these parties. Every time one of them found a red ear of corn, he got to kiss the girl of his choice. Well, it just so happens that the Russells were also the parents of the prettiest girl for miles around. Her name was Katie. She was engaged to the toughest, meanest bully in 3 counties. Why she chose him, I'll never know. His name was Wayne Babbitt. People claim that he stole chickens and hams of meat from his neighbors. If they said anything about it, he always pulled a gun out of his pocket and flashed it at him. Babbitt wouldn't work on his own farm. As a matter of fact, he mainly just rode his horse up and down the road. People always said that he was just a troublemaker. Later in the evening, the corn shucking was about over. The young single people began to play a game called Pleased or Displeased. One of the men asked Josh Cook, a younger brother of Jim Cook, if he was pleased or displeased. Josh told him that he was displeased. "What would it take to please you?" the man asked. Josh answered, "To see Katie kiss my brother Jim." That statement tells me how much Josh wanted to see Katie marry Jim. He didn't like Babbitt at all. And two, Jim and Katie had been sweethearts at one time. Jim had no choice in the matter but to do what Josh asked him to do. He took Katie in his arms and kissed her for what must have been a very long time. This broke the game up, and in a few minutes, people began to go home. Wayne Babbitt was very angry. When Jim and Josh Cook left the Russell house, he followed them outside. So did Katie. Jim and Babbitt began to fight. The jealous Babbitt took out his pocket knife. It was the kind that was always called a razor knife. He opened the long shiny blade and made a dive for Jim Cook. Suddenly a woman's scream was heard by the people inside the house. The men all ran in the direction from which the scream had come. They found Katie standing by Jim Cook's body, which lay stretched out across the top of the old well. His head was gone. It had been totally decapitated. There it was on the ground, eyes open and staring into the stillness of the cold, dark sky. Cook's blood had gushed out of his body and was all over the wooden planks that covered the well. It was an awful thing to see. After the killing, Babbitt ran and hid in the barn. The others found him there, still holding the long, bloody knife in his hand. He denied killing Cook, but was soon tried and convicted of murder. Katie never got over that awful event. She remained an old maid for the rest of her life. The Russells never removed the old planks from the top of the well which Jim Cook had been killed. The bloody spots could always be seen, especially after each rain. I guess that old folk believe it's true, the one that says the blood of a murdered person will always stain the spot where the killing took place. Let's not forget that the Thompsons are part of the story too. Hollis and his parents moved into the Russell house when he was still just a boy. It was early in the winter of 1943, and a few snows had already fallen. The winter's supply of wood was stored out back in the old woodshed near the blood-stained planks that covered the well. Hollis would walk by those bloodstains and think of that terrible murder every time his mother sent him to get more wood for the fire. Hollis always claimed that the dancing shadows on the wall cast by the light from the fireplace made him think that great goblins would get him at just about any moment. One night, without warning, the weird, scary sounds began. It was about 8 o'clock in the evening when the Thompsons heard noises coming from the upstairs area. Something was pecking and banging on the old ceiling rafters. At first they thought it was only a rat, or perhaps a bird that had gotten into the house. The longer it went on, the louder it got. Finally, it sounded like a dog playing with a ball. There was no such thing as an electric power-up in that hollow where they lived. They used kerosene lamps back then. With some hesitation, Hollis's father picked up a lamp with one hand and reached for his gun with the other. He began slowly toward the door that led upstairs. He walked ever so softly so as not to disturb whatever was making the noise. Suddenly, Thompson sprang forward, exposing himself fully at the bottom of the stairway. The lamp fluttered and the flame died for a second, then burned again. Only moments before, the upstairs area had been full of loud noises, but now there was only deathly silence up there. Shaking his head in disbelief, Thompson returned to his chair in the living room. None of the Thompsons said a word. I guess they were too scared to talk. It wasn't for more than 5 minutes until the noises began again. This time it was louder than ever. Hollis claimed that it sounded to him like a yearling calf romping and stomping. Again his father crept toward the base of the stairs. He was even more careful this time not to be heard. When he flung himself into the stair opening, the sounds again stopped. Thompson came on back and took his chair. They heard nothing else that night, and the family finally went to bed. The same noises continued night after night. The Thompsons never told anyone else. People might laugh at them for believing in such things. One night, about 2 months later, 3 friends dropped by the Thompson house. They were soldiers, friends of Mr. Thompson, who were home on leave from the army. They were sitting around the fire talking with Mr. Thompson. The noises began again, very quietly at first. They were not even noticed by the 3 visitors. Soon, however, their ears perked up, and they began to ask what the noises were. Thompson avoided their questions as long as he could, but finally broke down and described all that had taken place. He told them about Jim Cook's death, and of the bloodstains on the well. The 3 fellows had a good laugh at Thompson's expense. All the while he just sat there and didn't say a word. Within a few minutes their joking stopped. They didn't utter a sound as they sat there listening to the noise. Every time they looked upstairs, trying to find the cause of the noise, it always stopped. I've often wondered if they stayed the rest of the night because they were curious or because they were too scared to go home. When they left the next morning, one of the men turned to Thompson and said, "My friend, when you move from this house, I'll come back and see you and your family, but I'll never be back until you do." The Thompsons continued to live in that old house for another 2 years. They were too poor, I guess, to go anyplace else. They set traps, put out poison, brought in cats, dogs, and weasels. They had hoped to catch whatever it was that made the noise. They nailed everything down on that house so that might squeak or flap in the wind, and did whatever else they could think to do. Nothing worked. Hollis told me that his parents truly believed Jim Cook's spirit was living inside the house. The Thompsons sold the place at a heavy loss in 1946. They packed up their things and very thankfully moved out of the hollow. To this day, Hollis maintains that he is not going back to visit anytime soon, and I don't blame them. I wouldn't either.
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.